Hello, and welcome to season 2 of the Alicia Branham podcast. I am super excited that you are here today. It has been an incredible summer for me. I hope it's been an incredible summer for you. Okay, so in today's episode, we are going to talk about how fear built my business. Fear actually did build my business. When I started out in life, I never anticipated that I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur. I come from the Northeast, so I come from a really strict religious background, and a lot of lifers, a lot of people that work in businesses and places for a lot of years. So it never dawned on me that I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur ever in my life, right? But then I found myself in a place and space, about almost 10 years ago, where I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I was afraid. I was afraid because I had been eat up and chewed up by corporate America, to be quite honest with you. And I know some of you might know what that feels like to work for a big organization, a big company, give them your heart and soul. And then all of a sudden, new ownership, new management comes in and your head's spinning because of all the changes and you're wondering, where do I fit? And then all the people that, that were your friends or that had pull for you no longer have that. And then, you find yourself in a space where you're working too hard to prove yourself. You're giving too much of yourself. You're not being respected for what you're doing. An extra, thing for me was the fact that I was working in a male-dominated industry. I work in a blue-collar spaces a lot, but I also work with a lot of small businesses right now in my life. But back then, that's what it was like for me. And it was great until it wasn't. And then I decided that I needed to start my own business because I just didn't want to work for somebody else anymore. I was afraid to work for somebody else. And so fear built my business. And when I used to say that all the time, fear built my business, fear built my business. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to start season 2 episode with, it was this, because I know that a lot of people operate from a place of fear for a variety of reasons. And sometimes there's a good amount of good fear and there's a bad amount of unhealthy fear. But for me, the truth was that fear did build my business, right? I felt really trapped at that job. I felt really I just felt like I didn't matter. I felt like they would replace me tomorrow. I would worry on the weekends, okay, well, I'm not participating in the conversation going on with upper management. And am I going to hear about that on a Monday because I didn't participate on a Saturday when frankly, everyone's supposed to be relaxing and having family time unless you're making $1 million a year for somebody, right? And so I started my business in fear because I didn't want to work for somebody else. Corporate America sometimes is unforgiving, right? And you don't have to stand in a place that doesn't make you happy, right? And so for me, when I started Bran Marketing, I did it because I just wanted to have 40 hours a week and build a business and just kind of do a little. And then when word got out in the industries that I work in, not where I was before at the big job that burnt me out, people started knocking on my door and I realized that I actually had a real business that I needed to grow, and I hired more people and I did more things. And, I did that afraid, right? I did that afraid. And so fear ended up being my fuel, right? Because I had a fear of failing. I had a fear of going broke. I had a fear of working for someone else again, right? Because now I'm 9 years knee deep into my business and I'm doing well, but I'm 9 years deep into it. And when I think of working for someone else again, I just can't, because I'm an entrepreneur. That's just the way it is, because apparently it's in my blood. I think I had a great grandmother back in the day. My great grandmother Rosa in Uruguay apparently was a badass in her day and owned a lot of properties and created a lot of family wealth from my dad's side of the family. And so apparently I must have some of her genes because fear became my fuel, right? I have this work ethic that I learned from my grandfather and the people in the Northeast. People in the Northeast, they can take a string, a stick, and some glue and build you a house. It's just the way it is, at least the way it was when I was growing up, right? But fear will make people do crazy things, and fear made me start my business, right? But also, when I look at the fact that fear became my fuel, it's because, I needed to do something different for myself. So then all of a sudden I was really passionate about what I was doing, and I had this really active hustle mentality, but then at the same time too, I was also in survival mode because I've kind of operated in that space personally in my life because of my humble beginnings that I come from, put it that way. but in that position, I felt like I had to really prove myself all the time. And, starting Bran was something new and different for me. It really challenged me to build and create something different through my fear. Even hiring employees, that was scary. God, I remember hiring my first employee. My God, that was so scary. And the fact that she actually lost me a ton of money that first year because I didn't know enough to ask for the kind of reports I needed to from the bookkeeper that I work with. So that was a big painful lesson for me. But I've learned all those places that I found myself in mistakes. I've learned lessons from them instead of being discouraged from them. I made them valuable learning lessons. That's what every business owner should be doing, right? Irregardless of what you do, And let me tell you something. Like I said, fear isn't always bad, actually, because fear can actually motivate you to take action, right? It motivated me to take action and motivated me to start it. I'm all tongue-tied, sorry. It motivated me to start my own business. It motivated me to stick with it because the alternative was, do I want to go back to that life or do I want to bet on me? I had skills, I had talent, I have relationships, right? I bet on me. And I did it afraid, right? What are you afraid to do in your life? I'm just asking, what are you afraid to do in your life, inside your business, inside your personal life? Like, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of a ton of stuff. We're all wired to be afraid of things, but sometimes fear is that catalyst to get you out of something and put you into something better, right? But just because fear built my business didn't mean that my business was not going to sustain living on fear, right? Or being built out of fear. And I don't mean like I was in a corner, like, I'm afraid, just like you do it afraid. Like, am I going to be able to, have 40, 50 hours a week of billable time? Am I going to have enough client work, to be able to sustain my family, right? I took a lot of gambles on myself and I won. I won. So, and that makes me really happy and proud. And I sing about it because I'm really proud of the things that I've built. And I did it I did it through fear, through gritting teeth, through all of it, right? Because early in your business, it's chaotic, right? You don't know exactly what you're doing, but when you start adding employees, it adds even more layers and more things to be stressed about and more things to be fearful about. But you know something? You got to do it afraid. You just have to do it afraid because no one is coming to save you in this world. I'm just telling you, man, woman, child, child, your family's going to come save you. But honestly, man, women, like no one's coming to save you. And so this is your shot. This is your chance to take what's making you afraid in your life and look at it from all the different angles and sides and see how you can utilize that to your benefit, how you can grow from that, why you're afraid from it. Like, why are you afraid afraid of dogs, for instance? Because I personally used to be afraid of dogs because I got kind of bit by a dog when I was a kid, but now I love dogs. I got over that. But that's different than running a business and doing your business scared, right? And so, what I want you to think about, don't mind me as I check out my notes because I really wanted to do this episode really differently this year. Because I do better just being honest and real with you guys than trying to, have something memorized, which is a challenge to do. And so I've been working really hard at my speaking gig for a lot of years with my coach, Marcus Black, who's an incredible motivator, speaker, an incredible coach, very religious man. It's really important to me to have somebody like that in my corner because, it's a journey and part of your journey is having the right people around you. And doing it afraid, you definitely need to have the right people around you to help you get through the things that you're going through, right? So my closing thoughts right now are this. I am very, very grateful that fear pushed me to create a business that's thriving and growing and responsible for so many businesses across this country and the livelihoods of the people that entrust me, right, to work for me, right? That really matters to me. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without that fear being that kickstart for me to make that happen, right? A lot of entrepreneurs are out there running around in survival mode, right? Thinking that it's really cool and it's really not. It's not good for you. Survival mode, fear, similar things, right? You don't need that in your life. What you need to do is channel what's going on and put it towards better, bigger ideas for you and your business because you can do that for yourself, right? Fear built the first version of my business, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Fear is not what sustained it, all right? Me growing and being willing to change and letting that fear go and betting on myself, that's what changed my business. And I challenge you to find that thing that makes you afraid and change that part of your life. Anyway, I am so excited that you stayed to the end to listen to my podcast. It really means a lot to me. So if you like what you heard today, please follow me and subscribe. Either, you're going to find this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube, because I love YouTube. And just listen, stay tuned. There's a lot of great things coming at Bran, and I cannot wait to share them with you. So see you on the next episode of the Alicia Branham podcast.